During the summer, I had several experiences that make going to work difficult every day. I worked with a team of 17 middle-aged white males who really hadn't had a lot of experience with interacting with people of color. I was the only African American and the only African American woman on the team. There are instances where I had questions and they might be having a discussion, so I chose to just poke my head in and say, hi, I have a question. When you get done, I'll just come in and ask. But they kept talking for a while. So then I would come in and say, hey, I have a question, just letting you know I'm here. When you guys finish, I'll come in and ask a question. But they continued to talk for a while. So eventually I had to actually physically interrupt the conversation, say, hi, I have a question, state my question, and then leave. This happened several times over the summer where I had to force my presence to be acknowledged. At the end, when I came into a room, people would stop talking because they knew I was going to force my presence to be acknowledged, which worked to my advantage. This also happened with the interns, where we had conversations during lunch times that weren't really towards my topic. I had to either force my presence to be acknowledged or just leave the conversation entirely because I wasn't being included. This included lunch times where eventually people wouldn't come to lunch, they would go out to lunch, and I even got left once or twice for carpool, so I had to lift to work. I had the opportunity to talk to the CEO, who had recently mentioned that they hired 1,000 new employees over the past 12 months. I asked specifically about diversity and how they were going to include diversity in this giant hiring process they were having. His first response was saying that there was a strategic plan to hire diversity, and that was all he said about that. This told me that there was a Microsoft Word document on someone's computer that wasn't being taken seriously about a strategic plan to hire diversity. I also felt like there wasn't a need to have a strategic plan to hire, just an intentional need to have it. His second response was wanting his hiring to match his clientele. In this particular industry, there were doctor visits necessary, multiple therapy sessions, several surgeries, which required wealth. Just in that industry, there was a certain clientele base there, which told me that there was no intention in hiring people of color because that was not his clientele. So I brought it up in my final presentation during the summer and mentioned that there was not really a intention to have people of color there, which was an issue. I mentioned some solutions that they could have between going to HBCUs and hiring, going to NSBE conventions and hiring, but not just having a strategic plan for hiring, but having a plan for when those people of color actually get to the company. So that includes training for the team and any bosses and managers who would be having interns. When the interns get there, having some type of social event so that everybody can get accustomed to each other, and really having an environment and a culture where everybody's cultures are accepted and are acknowledged in people's presences. So I'm hoping that this next hiring season that the interns will have a great experience, that their managers and their mentors will be able to communicate effectively with them, and that they will overall have a great time at their internship.